Hey everyone, it's Professor Z. I just wanted to quickly go over the elements of drama with you. The elements of drama are going to help you to sort of break down the play into component parts. And they're important because they help you to focus as you're reading, but they're also the building blocks that you'll use when you write about a play, when you interpret it. So there's five elements of drama. You might see different people say there's like seven or nine. I tried to keep it simple for you guys and do it as like a who, what, where, when, and how, um, and why. So the five elements are character, plot, setting, theme, and language. Character has to do with who is in the play, and there are some sort of standard character types that you'll find in most plays, such as a hero or a heroine. An antagonist is in opposition to the hero or heroine. The hero is also sometimes called a protagonist. A foil is somebody, a minor character who helps you to understand one of the major character through their interactions. So they reveal the character of the main character. Plot has to do with what happens in the play. The most typical plot is the most typical way that plot is talked about is that it starts with exposition, where the situation is laid out. Rising action means things get more and more suspenseful. There's conflict along the way. You get to a climax where everything resolves, and then the action comes back down to earth, so to speak, and you come to a conclusion. So as you're reading the play, see if you can see first of all, does it conform to that norm, and if so, can you see those pieces happening along the way? Setting has to do with where it takes place in physical space and geographic space, when, what time period, what time of day, all of those sorts of things have to do with setting. Theme basically means like, what is the play about? What's the message of the play? And usually to figure out theme, you think about some of the other elements together. So you think about the setting and the characters and the action or the plot, and you say, all right, what does this all add up to? What is my takeaway here? Um, and then the last element, which kind of encapsulates a few different things, is language. So obviously Shakespeare's language is like a very specific type of language, and what you want to think about is like tone. So is it serious? Is it playful? You'll see Much Ado About Nothing is quite playful, though sometimes for our modern ears it can be easy for us to miss the tone. I also put wordplay on here just because that's something that happens a lot in comedies, and happens quite a bit in Much Ado About Nothing, where a character may take a word that usually means one thing and use it in a suggestive way to mean it, to talk about something else. And then you can also look for symbols and for metaphoric language. Symbols are where an object represents something larger than that object, and a metaphor is when you say like something is like something else. So if you say the the sky is like a rosy dawn, that's metaphoric language, because it's not actually a rose. So in the play, look for the way that language is used, and that can again help you to illuminate what the theme is. So as you're reading, here's some things you can do. We've talked a lot about annotation and just being active readers, right? So as you read the play, take notes. You may find that there's just not much room in the text to write. So I highly suggest as you're going along, in your notebook, you write like act one, scene one, and you take notes on the act as you're going. It's gonna keep you active. It's gonna force you to make sure you understand and comprehend what you're reading, and it's gonna save you a lot of time later when you have to write a paper. Ask questions. So, ask yourself, what's this character about? Like, how would I describe this character? And the other thing that I want you to ask yourself is like, how would you expect the play to be performed? What would you expect the setting to look like? What kind of costumes would you expect? What would you expect the characters to look like? The reason I say that you should do that is because when we go see the play, you can compare how it's actually put on to what you expected, and that can help you when it's time to write your paper, comparing the performance with the text. Another thing you can do is like, try and modernize the play as you're going along. Sometimes it can seem really difficult to like connect to something that's almost 500 years old. However, try and imagine like, all right, what's like the modern equivalent to what's going on here, and in some ways, Much Ado About Nothing is really just a romantic comedy, So you might think of modern romantic comedies that are similar or different. Summarizing the plot in the margins, like a lot of times on the top or bottom of the page, I'll just kind of write what happened on that page so that I can easily kind of go back over it and find stuff. And then, of course, underline important passages. And since a lot of times you have to almost translate Shakespeare as you're reading, you may have to write translations in the margin or in your notes that help you to understand what you're reading. And then, so just to preview for you what often will happen when you write about plays, a couple of typical types of papers are, one is an essay that discusses the text in relation to a performance. And you usually would focus on one particular element. Okay, so you might say, you might compare the way that one of the characters is what they're like in the original text and how they're different than that or similar to that in the performance. Or you might compare the language in the text to the language in the performance. If they update the language in the performance, you might talk about that. What you can especially look for is if they cut things out of the play, what effect that has on the performance. And I would suspect that they're going to cut certain things out of the play when we see the performance. So you can think about what impact that has on your understanding of the play. And then another type of assignment will ask you to like make the play modern. So it might ask you like, turn a scene from Shakespeare into a hip hop song or something like that. So you have to totally change the language, but you have to retain the message and you have to explain your own choices. So you would rewrite it in the modernized language of your choice. Say it was song, or say it was poetry, or say you made a board game out of it. It could be anything. And then it would be accompanied with a short paper that explained your rhetorical choices, why you chose to do it the way that you did it. And those are things that we're going to be doing with the play. So that's just a quick overview of the elements and what to think about when you're reading it. I hope you do enjoy it. I hope it's not too painful, and you've got 2 weeks to do it. So don't save it for the last minute. You can kind of go through it a little bit at a time over the next few weeks. And if you have questions, feel free to email me, and have a good break if I don't speak to you before then.